But I'm sorry, I think that thesis still holds. And I think, is this the moment? Let me ask you the question. The Republican Party is just the MAGA party now, right?
I think so. I felt that way for a while, and there were a few kind of glimmers, and I think Kevin McCarthy was like this fancy, shiny object that a lot of people saw.
Never heard him described that way.
He's handsome, he's charming, he's the #1 Republican fundraiser out there, right? Even in the last quarter, he raised $14 million. He's the Nancy Pelosi of the other side in terms of raising money.
Jessica Tarlov and Scott Galloway joined Bill Maher in this video to talk on the apparent threat to democracy posed by the Jode's increasing alliance with Christian nationalism. They point to Mike Johnson's appointment as Speaker of the House last year as the example of this change. The rising embrace of political extremism within our own borders, supported by leaders who would rather rewrite history than uphold democratic principles, is America's greatest threat. With a Speaker of the House who rejects fundamental scientific principles and aims to fuse church and state, we are witnessing the gradual erosion of the very freedoms we claim to value. This isn't just politics as usual. It's a creeping authoritarianism wrapped in the flag and cloaked in religious fervor that threatens to tear the foundation of American democracy apart from the inside out. All I can say about Jessica Toff is that she is intelligent and eloquent. To hear her analysis, watch the video. People like her are essential to democracy and honesty.
Okay, so I want to start off with this Mike Johnson. I know everyone is saying, Mike Johnson, my insurance agent? No, the other Mike Johnson. He's the Speaker of the House now. So I've been using this very slow-moving coup about Trump since before he got elected the first time. And a lot of people were laughing. I see a lot of people use it now. And every time we don't completely lose our way of government, somebody says, oh, well, where's your slow-moving coup now? It's slow. That's my answer. It's slow. But what happened this week, I remember I did a very dark editorial like 2022, like the last one of the year after that election, saying, because we all thought the Republicans were going to win, and I said, what's going to happen is that the people who were not in place in 2020, that Trump tried to get his bidding to overturn elections, the John Ratzenbergers of the world, who said, no, I can't find you votes. They're all going to get replaced. And it didn't happen then. But that's kind of happening now with Mike Johnson, the ultimate election denier, and now all the Republicans. It took them 22 days to get this guy. But now they finally got the guy who's Trump's guy. You know, it takes time to get your people to infiltrate them into these positions. But I'm sorry, I think that thesis still holds. And I think, is this the moment? Let me ask you the question. The Republican Party is just the MAGA party now, right?
Initially viewed with skepticism, the idea of a slow-moving coup is now widely recognized as an urgent threat, especially in light of Trump's lasting impact over government institutions. Bill Maher and his guests stressed that Trump's influence isn't characterized by sudden power grabs, but rather by a deliberate reshaping of government structures and norms that appoint loyalists and push legislation that could weaken democratic checks and balances, as Trump-aligned officials gradually take over important positions across various levels of government. This gradual approach is viewed as a means of consolidating authority without raising the red flags that are usually connected to overt authoritarian actions. In response to Bill Maher's query, there is concern that by normalizing some anti-democratic actions and subtly placing loyalist and crucial positions, the government may drastically change how democracy operates and establish a system in which democratic institutions exist in name only. Let's examine how, in response, Jessica too.
I think so. I felt that way for a while, and there were a few kind of glimmers, and I think Kevin McCarthy was like this fancy, shiny object that a lot of people saw.
Never heard him described that way, but
He's handsome, he's charming, he's the #1 Republican fundraiser out there, right? Even in the last quarter, he raised $14 million. He's the Nancy Pelosi of the other side in terms of raising money.
Wow. I don't, this is a side of him I never thought of.
Well, that's what I'm here to deliver.
I see.
I just, having spent a a lot of time in the conservative ecosystem. These are things that I pay attention to.
Right.
Why is this one more useful than this one, for instance? And Kevin McCarthy comes off as someone normal. He is not normal, right? He's someone who had a day where he said, Donald Trump was responsible for January 6th, and the next day he was at Mar-a-Lago throwing back martinis and hanging out with the crew.
The conflicting behavior of Kevin McCarthy highlights the subtle dynamics inside the conservative ecosystem, exposing a struggle between upholding the appearance of traditional Republican normalcy and siding with Trump's radical faction. They contend that this pattern enables McCarthy to win over mainstream conservatives while subtly supporting anti-democratic statements associated with Trump. McCarthy's dual strategy highlights a larger problem in the GOP, where party leaders frequently have to choose between maintaining party unity and pleasing Trump's devoted base. This balancing approach runs the risk of undermining core democratic values because individuals like McCarthy give radical forces legitimacy while appearing stable on the outside. This article emphasizes Jupe's battle to define itself in the post-Trump environment, where party identity and adherence to democratic standards are becoming more and more at odds.
Sits like this, whatever. And then we get this guy who's a lawyer, who has a long career of going after these kind of social issues. You already mentioned it in the monologue about the sodomy laws criminalizing homosexuality. He was in the election integrity front. He wasn't just someone who signed on. He was an architect of the plan to get our votes thrown out in Pennsylvania and Georgia and Michigan. Yeah. He is so much more frightening in that sense. But I do think, and obviously want to hear what you guys think about this as well. I think it is a good thing for Democrats that he was made speaker because everything is laid bare now. If you listen to his interviews, you know exactly who this party is, and Democrats can run against that. It's harder to run against Kevin McCarthy, who might feel more normal to you.
But we can't.
Through his open adoption of far-right positions on subjects like his L-butt cup rights, religious government, and election, the new speaker exposed the fundamental beliefs of the MAGA-dominated GOP, providing Democrats with a more distinct and potentially powerful target for their campaign. The principles and ideals that have come to characterize the party's most ardent followers are personified by Integrity Speaker Johnson. Some contend that this transparency has two negative effects. It increases Trump's base's allegiance, but it also alienates moderate conservatives and gives Democrats a powerful narrative to gathering against complete Democrats. A strategic opportunity is presented by Johnson's ascent. His support for election denialism and Christian nationalism provides them with a focal point to contrast their ideas of an inclusive, secular democracy. Johnson's MAGA-flavored leadership is positioned as a representative of a goal that is progressively turning away from traditional conservatism in favor of populist, religiously motivated authoritarianism as the darker ideological gulf heightens the stakes for the next elections. Please share your thoughts on this matter by leaving a comment below. Remember to like. Additionally, to view the upcoming fascinating videos, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your attention.